Hello, and welcome to our podcast through the University of Kansas Medical Center. My name is Angela Carrasco, and joining us today we have Viviana Desmoineaux, a new graduate from the Master's of Speech-Language Pathology degree in the Intercampus Program in Communicative Disorders at the University of Kansas. Viviana, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. I heard you had a career before you became a student here. Tell us about that.
I did. I was a operations specialist at a national healthcare staffing agency. So I did a lot with training, with our manuals and resources, kind of focusing on what we did, how we did it, and why we did it.
Was that for a particular field?
It was mostly nurses.
For mostly nursing?
Yeah, so placing nurses across the country in different hospitals.
Okay, so what skills did you learn in that career that perhaps could have carried over into your new profession of speech-language pathology?
I would say several, actually. One, just working with different people. So this is a field that focuses a lot on interdisciplinary collaboration. Mm-hmm. So getting to work with the different departments, that was really helpful. But I would say the biggest thing was the ability to break processes down.
Okay.
So when we're thinking about evaluations and treatments, really thinking about who we're working with, what skills we're targeting, what are we trying to find, and then really what is the data telling us.
Which is individualized for every patient that you come across.
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
So what led you to the field of speech-language pathology then?
To be honest, I hadn't heard of it before I started it.
Uh-huh.
I originally did my degrees in sociology and Spanish.
Okay.
And once I graduated, I started working. I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to get a master's. I had originally thought about doing something in cultural linguistics. I really like language. And then somebody told me about speech-language pathology. I found it, I tried it, I loved it, and I stayed with it.
So since you switched careers or switched fields, did you have to go and do prerequisite courses in order to do speech-language pathology as a master's degree, or did you already have some of that background?
No, I had to go back and do the leveling courses. Okay. So I did some at my original school, so University of Nebraska, and I found some online courses that worked, and then I just started looking for schools that didn't require the bachelor's, completed leveling courses, and then applied for my master's.
Great. I saw that you've worked with the Linn Project at KU. What is Linn, and how did you participate in this program?
Yes. Linn is Leadership Education in Neurodevelopmental and Other Related Disabilities. So really long name. It's a network of programs across the country that really focuses on building future leaders to work in that field. Mm-hmm. There is an emphasis on interdisciplinary collaboration. So my cohort has physical therapists, occupational therapists, psychologists, audiologists, and then self and family advocates.
Okay.
We do a class. We focus on different clinics within that field. There's research as well as community activities. Personally, I've done a lot with the Girls Night Out program. Mm-hmm. So it's a program that focuses on social developmental and self-care skills for girls with autism.
Okay.
And we go to different places in the community, get to practice our skills out there. It's pretty great. We know that a lot of the research focuses on boys with autism, so this is a pretty new area to be focusing on.
Neat. How did you get involved in that?
So there was an email that was sent out, and I applied. I'm a full-time trainee, so I dedicate, for the last year, I've dedicated at least 16 hours a week to Linn, and it is a paid traineeship, but it's available to anybody to apply. And if you're coming here, I really suggest that you do. Yeah. It really does it takes what we do to the next level, I think.
You bet. And it seems like you've all done some traveling. Like you said, you do the Girls Night Out, but I've seen them do some other traveling to Native American reservations and things of that sort as well. So it seems like it's been an excellent program for the community and outreach areas.
Definitely. Part of it is identifying underserved populations. So again, girls with autism, Native American groups, and then there are national conferences that we go to as well to see what other programs are doing and just kind of grow from there. But diversity was actually one of their focuses this year. So.
Very neat. Well, I see you have a French last name, and I know you fluently speak Spanish. So could you please talk about your eclectic cultural background and how you established yourself in Kansas City?
Yes. So my parents are from Colombia, South America. I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, and I spent my summers in Venezuela.
Okay.
So, right, I grew up in a Spanish-speaking household, and then, like I said, summers were spent with my family in South America, so that just further help develop the language.
How did you get to Omaha?
So my father, he I think he started in New York,
Uh-huh.
was on his way to Seattle, stopped in Omaha, and never left.
Just loved it.
Loved it. And then went back to Colombia, met my mother, brought her back, and that's where we've been ever since.
Very neat. And what family members do you have in Venezuela?
So, because of the current political climate, a lot of family has left to different countries. So I've had some family come up here, some have gone to Colombia, Spain, different areas. I still have a few aunts and uncles and then a few cousins there. And then in Colombia, aunts and uncles and cousins.
Well, that's wonderful. You have a lot of wonderful options to go to for traveling.
Definitely.
Great. Can you tell us about your clinical background at KU and how you utilized your bilingualism?
Yes. When I started selecting clinics, I know that I want to work with kids, but I really wanted to make sure that I got a varied background. So I did a lot of adults, but for my child placement, it actually was unintentional. The way that we got assigned, it was first come, first serve, and I happened to get the Spanish-speaking family that came to the clinic.
Oh.
Yes. So my first semester was with a Spanish-speaking family, so we really focused on treatment in Spanish and English. This was a preschooler. Mm-hmm. And then a home program, so bringing mom into the program, going through what we could do with her, with the family, and then at home. And then going through, it's helped out with different families that come in, but specifically for field study, then I requested a Spanish-speaking elementary school.
Great.
Yeah.
And so do they have you actually do any kind of translations or interpretations throughout the session? Do they let you kind of go on your own since you may be the only Spanish speaker other than the clients in the room? How does that work?
Yes. Depending on the age, kind of guides how you do treatment. With the preschooler, we did a lot of the treatment in Spanish because that's what they speak at home. Mm-hmm. And so we wanted to make sure that mom had a way to communicate with her child and child had a way to communicate with her mom. Mm-hmm. So we did a lot in Spanish. I would say we did some in English as well, but the child was enrolled in preschool, so they were going to get that piece there. Mm-hmm. And then in the school setting, being able to talk to the parents directly. So we still always have an interpreter for everybody else, but being able to speak directly to the parent in Spanish, I think, helps out. And then with the students, again, it just depends. So community kids, we would do the treatment in Spanish because that's what they were doing at home. Mm-hmm. And then as kids get older, then we start bringing in more English and backing off on Spanish.
So are these kids also in classrooms that speak Spanish, or is it purely English spoken in the schools that they're in?
English spoken.
English spoken. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And do they ever bring teachers in as well in your school into the treatments, or is it just something that's related to the students and the parents?
So with the teachers, no, you can go into the classroom so you can push in and work with teachers that way. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times it's just going to be with the student. And then ideally you want to bring the parent in, especially depending on what age. So school aged, a lot of times parents aren't there because we don't know, or it's time-wise and figuring all that. Community children, the parents bring them to the school. Mm-hmm. So then it's easier to work with them within the treatment setting.
Okay, very neat. Well, what type of additional opportunities might graduates be awarded if they have a second language?
The biggest is job opportunity. I want to say that the last time I checked ASHA, about 4% of providers are reported as bilingual.
Mm-hmm. That seems very low.
Completely. Yes, very low. So I know ASHA has an initiative to increase diversity, but in the meantime, we still need to fill those spots. So bilingual speakers are highly sought out. I'd give an example at one of my placements. This is a district that has a lot of Spanish-speaking families and only one bilingual provider within the schools and then one bilingual provider for early education. Mm. So it's a high demand. We need you.
Right.
Yeah.
So that means you might have a better chance of getting a job if you have a second language.
I would say so.
Particularly Spanish in this area.
And then depending on where you're going, for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I hear congratulations are in order. You were selected by our faculty as the recipient of the Jacob R. Osman Award for an outstanding graduating student in pediatric speech-language pathology. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Do you know why that award was established?
Yes. So the Osman Fund, from which that award comes from, was originated in 1991 following the death of Jacob Osman. Mm-hmm. Jacob had a rare neurological disorder that affected his motor speech, and his father, Stan Osman, forwarded memorial contributions to our department. So that's where that came from. And Stan Osman continues to be a very generous donor today. So
very neat. Well, I think you are absolutely deserving of that award, so congratulations again.
Thank you very, very much.
You bet. Speaking of graduation, you just recently graduated. Could you tell us about your job search, and have you found your career for your clinical fellowship year?
Not yet. The way that I'm kind of taking this, I really want to make sure that I'm setting myself up for success. I do want to go into the schools. I know that that's my area, but I'm really looking for districts that have a manageable caseload that really provide support. Mm-hmm. So I've applied, I've interviewed at a couple of places. I know one, they don't have an opening yet. So fingers crossed.
Right.
But I really want to make sure that I'm looking for a job that fits me for that first year, so I can really absorb what I'm doing and really be present for the kids that I'm serving.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for our current students on how to do a job search and find your CFY?
One, take your time. So I think you get to a certain point in the program and you start hearing that other people have jobs, and it's just really easy to rush in. You want to find something.
It's easy to take the first opportunity that's given to you.
Yes. But there really are so many jobs out there. So just taking the time to think about what setting you want to be in, what population you want to be in, you're going to find a job. Mm-hmm. It might take a little bit longer. Again, just take your time. Just really think about what you want. Online searches are great. So if you're looking for a school, go to the districts directly. If you want something medical, you can go online. You can still go to the specific hospitals if you know where you want to work and check things out. There are also a lot of those search engines, they do updates. So you can put that you want to be notified anytime a job pops up. Which
like
is
a LinkedIn?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you find that some of your classmates have already started to get job offers for perhaps the places they've been clinically placed during the school year for their, for their academic studies?
Looking back, I've heard of a couple. I know for field study, a couple of people got jobs in the district that they worked. Mm-hmm. Other people, it's kind of varied. It really depends. Some people are leaving, some people are going to California, some people are going, across the other way.
Right.
And it was just so varied, I think. People started popping up in different places for where they were getting jobs and when they were getting jobs. Right. Some people started really early, I would say fall of the second year. Some people already had jobs.
Well, you have a lot of type A personalities in speech-language pathology, so
yes.
I can understand that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I think I'm more of just, I'll take my time. I know it's out there, and I don't want to rush into it.
Well, I think you're marketable, especially with having the second language, so that's going to be very helpful in your favor.
Thanks. I hope so.
So finally, any podcasts or blogs or YouTube channels that you follow?
So on Facebook, I know there are a couple of groups. There's SLP groups for AAC, medical SLPs. I did some for special education that include teachers because I want to hear. With those things, just word of warning, you're getting people's opinions. Mm-hmm. So remember that we always want to be evidence-based. So it's great to get the opinion, just make sure that we're looking into it.
Right.
Another site, the Informed SLP, it is something that you have to pay for, but going through all of the research takes time, and this is a site that goes through research, summarizes it, and shoots it out. So.
Oh, nice.
Yes. And then a couple of listservs. So I'm interested in literacy, so I joined a literacy listserv that again has SLPs, teachers, psychologists, just to get everybody's perspective.
How'd you find out about some of these different sites that you could go to and sign up for?
A lot of them through class.
Okay.
A lot of times instructors will post their resources, their references. The Informed SLP was one that kept getting brought up. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, just searching. Mm-hmm. I wanted some maybe a little less formal, so that's where the Facebook groups come in, just to get quick ideas is nice, or to hear what people are struggling with or what they're succeeding with.
Right.
I do like that people are posting both.
That's helpful, I'm sure.
Yeah. But it's out there.
Well, Viviana, thank you very much for joining us today and talking about your bilingual clinical experiences as well as your job search.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. To our listeners, that was Viviana Desmoineaux, recent graduate with a Master's in Speech-Language Pathology from the Intercampus Program in Communicative Disorders at the University of Kansas. Thank you for listening, and rock chalk.